The day my world fell apart started with an ordinary phone call, one that would turn my entire life upside down. It was my credit card company. Their tone calm yet urgent, informing me of a suspicious $50 charge. 50 grand. The number hit me like a gut punch, knocking the air from my lungs. My pulse quickened. Someone was draining my account. Instinct took over. With trembling fingers, I froze the card and blocked the transaction. But before I could fully grasp what was happening, my phone lit up again, buzzing non-stop. Ethan, my husband. His name flashed across the screen like a siren. Over and over, as if he was in a panic. Ethan was supposed to be overseas on business. So why was he so desperate to reach me now? For what felt like an eternity, we played an exhausting game of missed calls and voicemails. When I finally picked up, I barely had time to say hello before reality came crashing down. This wasn't just a financial mix-up. This was something far, far worse. I'm Olivia, and at 27, I've worked my tail off to get where I am, a manager. Not just some cog in the machine. My story, I guess, really started back in college where I met Ethan, who is my age. We just celebrated our 3rd wedding anniversary this year, while a lot of my friends traded their careers for a wedding ring. I had my reasons for staying in the game. Societal norms be damned. The biggest one? I'm the main breadwinner. I out-earn Ethan by a long shot. It's like this silent giant in our marriage. This fact that hangs in the air even when we don't talk about it. It makes me anxious sometimes. The thought that relying just on Ethan's income wouldn't be enough to secure our future. I know he worries about it too, even if we keep it mostly unspoken. What makes our relationship work, though, is financial independence. We have our own accounts and split the household bills right down the middle. It's a system that lets me manage my money the way I want and is how we have what I'd describe as a pretty comfortable life. Still, there are moments I start thinking maybe I need to be more frugal. Like the other day, I was on the train, scrolling through emails, when a debit alert popped up that made me frown. It was like a neon sign flashing. Re-evaluate those subscriptions. Problem is, actually doing it is another story. Forgotten passwords. The thought of wading through automated customer service menus during business hours. Forget about it. It's a real catch-22 for someone like me, a working woman trying to juggle a career and manage my life. So, I find my escape in small pleasures. Online shopping mostly. It's like a little vacation from the pressure. And getting those packages always gives me a fleeting rush. But those moments are short-lived, replaced by the guilty feeling that I need to be more responsible. Walking through my front door usually brings a sigh of relief. A reminder of the life Ethan and I have built. But not that day. That day I was immediately annoyed by the sheer chaos of it all. Socks were strewn on the floor. Empty soda cans littered the coffee table. And a phone and a sweatshirt were carelessly dumped on the sofa. Typical Ethan. He treats the place like a second closet half the time. I couldn't resist a little dig about the mess. He just shrugged, saying it was nothing and that I could clean it up since I was home early. Seriously, why couldn't he pick up after himself? He started complaining about being tired and having to eat convenience store food every night. I snapped a little, telling him that if he wasn't going to lift a finger around the house, he could at least focus on his work. At first, he brushed it off, but I saw a flicker of annoyance in his eyes when he repeated his dismissal. Then he grabbed his phone and retreated to the bedroom, completely ignoring my glare. It felt so unfair, me carrying most of the weight. But I started to second-guess myself. Had I been too harsh? Would he just get worse out of spite? Surprisingly, things started to change. He started coming home later, claiming overtime at work. It was like he was trying to prove something. To change. And honestly, it made me happy. It made me want to be more supportive. Pick up even more slack around the house since he was putting in the hours. One day, I had a rare early afternoon off and decided to tackle his room, which was long overdue for a deep clean. It was exactly as I expected. A disaster zone of empty cans and half-eaten takeout containers. As I started gathering the trash, something on the bed caught my eye, a gift-wrapped package. I couldn't quite make out what it was, so I grabbed my phone and used the flashlight. It was a shopping bag from my favorite store, all tied up with a fancy ribbon. A little thrill shot through me. Could this be a surprise birthday present? My birthday was right around the corner. I quickly tamped down the excitement. No need to jump to conclusions. I'd just pretend I hadn't seen it and let Ethan surprise me on the big day. Except, my birthday came and went. No mention of the bag. No gift. Nothing. I couldn't help but hint about it. Asking, almost jokingly, if Ethan remembered what day it was. He looked genuinely surprised, then gave me this awkward, half-hearted, happy birthday. But when I prodded about a celebration or any kind of gift, he got all dismissive, like gifts were some obligation from the past and he couldn't be bothered with it now that I was old enough. Ouch. That stung more than I let on. He just muttered something about being tired and went to his room, leaving me feeling deflated. Then, out of nowhere, Ethan announces he's got this overseas business trip next week. That was a first. He never traveled for work, let alone internationally. Apparently, it was all due to his recent good performance. Normally, I'd be thrilled for him. But between the forgotten birthday gift and his whole dismissive attitude, doubt had started to creep in. On the morning of his supposed departure, I watched him leave, my heart heavy. As soon as he was gone, I gave in to the urge to snoop. I went straight to his room, something I hadn't done since finding that mysterious package. My heart was pounding as I looked under the bed, where I'd last seen it. It was gone. That confirmed it. This wasn't just a business trip, it was something else entirely. I dragged myself into work feeling like I was wading through treacle. My head was a jumbled mess of questions, doubts, and the gnawing feeling that I didn't know my husband at all. I couldn't focus, and my work started to suffer. My colleagues noticed, asking if I was okay. I just mumbled something about not sleeping well, not wanting to unpack all the drama brewing inside me. Then, in the middle of all this, my phone buzzed with a call from an unknown number. Normally, I'd ignore it, but something made me answer. Maybe it was the heightened anxiety of the day. Maybe just a desperate hope that someone could explain what was going on. I stepped out into the hallway to take the call. It was my credit card company. Panic flared as they explained someone spent more than $20, actually $50. I couldn't believe it and panicked, thinking there was no way that was right. I hurried back to my desk to check my wallet, but it was missing along with the credit card that should have been inside. I got back on the phone and asked if I could stop the transaction. Luckily, it was still pending, so they said I could stop it. I felt a bit better but knew this wasn't the end of it. I told them I didn't have my card and asked him to treat it as if it was stolen. The person agreed to start the process right away. Even after hanging up, my heart wouldn't calm down. I told my boss I was feeling sick, that my credit card might have been stolen and misused, and I needed to leave early to sort things out. My colleagues and boss were concerned and let me go home. Rushing to catch the train, I saw Ethan had called me many times, almost as if he had something to do with this mess. I got home, tossed my bag aside, and went straight to Ethan's room. I opened his computer to check his search history and saw luxury cruises and travel packages for couples plastered all over the place. He really hadn't wanted me to know about this trip, had he? I checked the destination he mentioned for the business trip. It was clear it was no business trip at all. Then I scrolled through his emails, finding a booking confirmation under a woman's name. Who is this Bianca? I was so angry I nearly slammed the laptop shut. But I took a deep breath and dove in for more answers. My phone kept buzzing, driving me insane. I remember the temp password the credit card company gave me and checked my spending history. My shock grew as I clicked on the purchases. There was a high charge for some handbag I'd never seen. It clicked. Bianca and him were having an affair. I couldn't hold it in any longer, and answered my phone as calmly as possible as my voice seethed. Ethan. He started to complain that I'd cancelled the credit card. I asked directly, "Who's Bianca?" He tripped up over his words, claiming he borrowed the card and planned to pay it back. He was overseas on business. I asked, "How's business, Ethan?" And then I reminded him about the vacation cruise he didn't intend to take with me. He stumbled and stumbled, but it fell apart quickly and like a card house. There were no more lies left to use. $50 in a woman's name, Ethan. For a business trip I never intended to see, and a bag from a company I just adore. You really thought I wouldn't be able to tell? I heard nothing more from him but that I could hear my own voice scream over the phone to him as he finally said, "I understand." With a mix of anger and disbelief, I asked him how he had the audacity to even assume that I'd just be okay with what he did. It was then I told him not to return to our home or our relationship. After ending the call, my persistent phone calls continued until I blocked him. I couldn't take the constant buzzing reminding me of his lies. Knowing his return flight was noon in 3 days as per the confirmation I had just read about. I had to get ready. First, I was going to erase him. These 3 days would be pivotal. My first task to simply erase anything that he ever owned. From my life, photos, clothes, gifts, everything gone. The following day, equipped with divorce papers and his computer showing all his purchases, I visited his parents. The revelation was shocking and they could only apologize for what Ethan had done. Immediately his parents got on my side, agreeing that I was worth more than Ethan could offer, and set up the paperwork to be completed for me. As the day of his arrival came, I received confirmation from them that I was freed from his lies and that the only thing taken was the $50,000 in luxury items that had been stolen and purchased using my account details. They also confirmed that Bianca had left him behind. But the chaos was far from over. Having never booked a return of his flight, she flew back before him on his dime, leaving him as she took flight herself. I have to give her credit. She's as conniving as him. I didn't understand why she didn't take his passport like you see in the movies. But hey, at home, his phone was disconnected, and to his surprise he found that all his clothes had been put on the front porch, with all the pictures taken down. He attempted to then seek help from his parents, but upon entering he was greeted with a stern talking to. It was time to sign. Having signed the divorce, Bianca wanted to now have him return to her the $50,000 spent, with his family bailing him out to never be seen again with them. In fear of the wrath of his family, it was decided that he would continue to live under a strict supervision and to pay them back as much as possible like he was still in his teenage years. Knowing all the details and all the money lost, I moved forward as well. As much as $7 was lost, nothing would equate to what the mental torment that he put me through, and so I would sue her also. I felt ready to start again. The next day I went back to work. A lot of my co-workers, both my seniors and juniors, showed they cared about me. They asked, "Hey, are you okay? I'm here to listen if you need to talk." It made me feel thankful to work with such kind people. Thanks. I really appreciate it. Let's grab a drink sometime. My treat. It'll be like a venting session, I suggested. They agreed, and it felt good to let out everything that had happened while we shared some drinks. It was like I was washing away all the bad memories. I ended the night feeling hopeful, thinking that from now on, only good things would come my way. Yes, that's right, I told myself, feeling optimistic about the future. Olivia.